Hey guys! Alright, so in this video we're going to look at our SKUgrid database. We just got the email from SKUgrid with the download link. So I'm going to click on that and then we're going to open the file. I'm going to look at the file using Microsoft Excel. Keep in mind there's some complications when you use Excel, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. So the reason we're able to compare these databases is because eBay uses item IDs. Every item that you sell on eBay has a number that you can use to locate that item. So in this case, this is an item ID, 2222273552290, right? So just to show you what I mean by this, we're going to go to ebay.com/ITM and then put in the item number. And look at that, we have our item for sale by me, right? So this is a direct link to the item itself. So now the thing is here, Excel doesn't like big numbers and it converts them to scientific notation, and this can screw things up. So you can change this by formatting the cells here and clicking on number here and then changing the decimal to 0, right? So that just converted them all to the proper format. But this is temporary. As soon as we save the file, Excel is going to view it as scientific notation. So make sure that you always click File and then Export and then change file type and then CSV and then click Save As. If you just save it as an Excel file, it can screw everything up. So be careful. But that being said, let's explore this database a little bit. So obviously we could scroll down. There's a whole lot of information here. You can see it goes all the way to 80,000 items. That's a lot of information. We don't need to look down the database. In order to understand the database, all that we need to do is look at the column titles. See? So SKUgrid looks at a lot of different things, but really there's only 3 things that are important. I'm going to highlight the important columns here in green. So the first column is the vendor URL. This is where SKUgrid looks to determine how much the item costs. So we're going to highlight that in green. This is your supplier link to the item. As an example, let's copy the item we just looked at and find out where our supplier is. So it's a Walmart item. There we go. Here's the item on walmart.com. So back to this document. The rest of these fields we don't really care a whole lot about, like it shows the price, profit, and it tries to guess how much you're earning, but obviously it's wrong because it thinks I'm losing money on every single sale. That's just because I don't like using SKUgrid to figure that stuff out. I do that myself, so there's no point in me paying SKUgrid credits to give it the information so that then it can estimate how much money I'm making when I can just see how much money I'm making on eBay and not pay SKUgrid to tell me, okay? So that's the first column that's important. The second important column is this column here, the reference number, okay? This is kind of a precaution or a safety. We're going to mark this column in orange, okay? I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. And then the third column that's really important is the reprice SKU. This is the eBay item number and also how we're going to do the compare in the first place. So we're going to change the fill color to this to, let's do like a blue, okay? So these are the 3 columns that actually matter. And if you understand these 3 columns, then you can figure everything else out. We have the reprice SKU, and this is how SKUgrid knows what item to change the price of when the price changes at the source. So SKUgrid looks here, it looks at this URL, and it's like, okay, this is the item. Here's the price. I have a markup set up in SKUgrid, so it knows to take this cost, multiply it by the markup, and then apply that price change to this item number, which is this item here. So you can see that this item costs $49, and then we sell it for $68, okay? Now to explain this reference column. The reference column is a precaution. And it's so that in case something happens to this column, you can actually just use this to fix it. So let's say there's an error that can happen when you're using Excel where the last couple digits of the number are converted into zeros. And this completely negates the whole number. Imagine if every single one of these numbers ended in 0. It's not useful anymore. Like, we can copy it and then put it in here, and it's not going to be to an item. It's just to a search, right? So nothing's going to happen. So SKUgrid's going to look at this and then try and change the price of this item, but this item doesn't exist, so the price change is never going to happen. So if you do run into that problem where this whole column is screwed up, that's pretty easy to do, or to fix, because you can just copy this whole column. See? I'm going to do it one cell at a time, but you could do the whole thing. And then you just remove the remote Hydra import, and then boom, the number's fixed, right? So now you understand the vendor URL column. That's the source of the item. You understand the reprice SKU column, and you understand the reference column, okay? You understand all three of these, then you know exactly what this document is for, all right? So now I'm going to check and see if we've received the eBay item database. And if we haven't, then I'll end the video here and then just do, oh, look at that, we did get it, okay? So I'm going to close this Excel file because I don't need this anymore. Don't save. And now we're going to look at this. All right, I can click this link and download my database. Bum, 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 here we go. Give it a second to finish downloading. It's a fairly big file for a CSV file. I mean, anything over a couple megabytes for a CSV file is quite big. Almost done. I don't actually know. Maybe it's like a 15 megabit file. This one seems to be bigger than the SKUgrid file. The SKUgrid file downloaded quite quickly. Okay, cool. So now we're going to open this in Excel. Bum, bum. Awesome. So you can see here that there's way less information. We don't have tons and tons and tons and tons of columns here. There's only a couple, and a lot of them are actually blank. I don't know why. For some reason, the export of this database doesn't pull all of the product IDs and UPC codes. Every single one of my listings has a UPC code and a product ID or a model number. But for some reason, when I do this database, it looks like only a couple of them are there. So in this file, there's actually only one line that we care about, and it's the item ID line. So you can see that Excel did the same thing here. It converted all of the item IDs to this format. So we're going to change it real quick. Whoops, wrong way. Okay, so now these are more noticeable, and we can check this, right? See that it's an item, go to ebay.com/ITM. See, this is an item that we have for sale, okay? So the thing is, this isn't going to be in, okay, I'm not going to worry about that for right now. So every one of these items, if this item exists, okay, how do I explain this properly? This is a list of every single item that I have for sale on eBay, right? So it's about 80 something thousand items. If we compare the list on SKUgrid, we know that if the item is in both files, that means that we can safely keep it, because that means that it's for sale on SKUgrid, or it's for sale on eBay, and then also for sale on SKUgrid. If this item exists in SKUgrid, but it's not in this document, that means that it is safe to delete, because that means that the item is for sale on SKUgrid, but not on eBay. Okay? So this column here is the only one that we actually have to understand in this document. I could go and explain all these, but they're pretty self-explanatory. You know, you got the title, category ID, start date, end date, price, all that kind of stuff. So now you know how to look at this file and how to find the information that we need to do the compare. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to do the database compare. And this is something that you guys are really lucky, because I have done so many videos about just being completely confused by this and getting wrecked. And eventually I met somebody who showed me how to do it really quickly in Excel using the VLOOKUP function. Okay, so I'm going to show you that in the next video. And it's probably actually going to be shorter than these current videos. Okay? All right, guys. Ciao.